Hi. Today I'd like to get into our textbook, Life by Design, and begin with our first unit, Life is Significant. When we think about something that is significant, I think that we need to understand that it's intentional, it's important. There was a plan, there was an action taken for that thing to occur. And so when we look at life as is significant in our first unit, the important aspects of that unit are the patterns and the different systems and how those systems work over and over and over again because of those patterns. When we're talking about design, we're talking about the creation. In order to cause creation to manifest in some sort of a product, there has to be a plan. There has to be an organization. One thing must follow the other in order for that structure to be complete, or to be strong, or to be able to move, or have enough energy to be able to move and transform that energy, or chemically to be able to send messages. And so when we're really looking at the significance of life, we're looking at the intentionality of the fact that we were created for a purpose. And we were designed in such a way that this creation could replicate over and over and over again, whether it's a plant creation, an animal creation, a human creation, atmospheric situations, the planets, and as they revolve around the sun. These things all have a special plan and purpose. And so we know that it was significant because of that plan, and especially because of the purpose. We also know that in our diversity of the multiple things that we have available to us in life, there are great similarities. There are similarities in things that are so very small that in our gene makeup, in a genome, which is one gene in a body, with just a little tweaking of one or two genes in a body, we have different species. And that is a master plan. That gives us indication in our understanding from what we have learned by observing and experimenting with the world around us, that shows us that there is a predictability. If you have a tree, the tree produces the seed to have more trees. If you have a fruit, the fruit produces the seeds to have more fruit. If you have a genetically manipulated fruit or plant or vegetable, they can never reproduce because there's no seeds in them. And so because we understand these systems and how these systems have to work in order in an organization, that gives us better understanding about the world around us. It helps us with our agriculture, helps us with medicine. For a doctor or a scientist or researcher to understand what a biomolecular structure is, can then help them to begin to understand if there is a bacteria that is a biomolecule and it's invading your body, what is it about that bacteria that is so specific that it grows and it multiplies and is able to take over in the body? And what can be done about it? How can that plan, how can that pattern be interrupted so that there is a healing process, there is a cure that takes place? So it's very important for us to understand patterns. We also see patterns in epidemiology. Epidemiologists are frontline scientists these days when we talk about immunization and development of the restrictions necessary for the diminish of COVID and all of those kinds of things that had to be put in place to try to counteract the pandemic that was taking place in the world beginning in 2019, comes from patterns, understanding patterns. Epidemiologists run on patterns, basically. They're detectives, they're disease detectives. And they have to look at what is happening now, what do we know has happened in the past, how have we intervened in those things, and how can now we best intervene. So pattern and organization is extremely important. And I would say that that is probably your number one criteria for this first unit, Life is Significant. Look at the patterns. Know the patterns. Know the organization. How do we move from smallest to largest? What is that organization? That becomes very significant when we try to build on that information to know more about cells, to know more about DNA and the messaging that goes on between cells. So, take it from me, lists of patterns are very important.